Another day with grease pencil, the artist's way to animate. First, let's turn off summary. Then let's click the Draw button. Now we can adjust our brush, making these two smoothing adjustments. Hold down the D key and begin to draw. Even the shakiest of hands can draw an effective circle. Hold down D and then Tab to switch to Edit Strokes mode. Press F and release to adjust the size of the brush. Then press E to apply smoothing. Hold down D and E, then select the Push tool. Press F to adjust the brush size and then E to apply the tool. In cases like this, it's often easier just to pull the points into place. Press F to resize the brush, then E to apply the tool. Press A to select all points, and then lower the alpha value of these points. Click here to adjust the fill color to this vivid color. Increase the opacity to 100%. Use your scroll wheel to zoom the view out. Right-click in the center of the circle to set the pivot point. Press A and then press S to scale inward. Press G to grab and move the circle here. Hold down Alt and use your scroll wheel to advance the time slider. Increase the before and after onion skins to very large numbers. Press G to grab and move the circle here. Hold down Alt and scroll to set the time slider another 10 frames ahead. Then place the circle here. We'll be using Alt with the scroll wheel to move through the frames. With frame 10 selected, press D to begin to draw the leg. Don't worry about really bad drawing skills. Our automatic brush smoothing will take care of these errors. Press and hold the E key, then select the Push tool. Hold down the E key to use the tool. Use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out, thus increasing or decreasing the brush size. Press and hold the E key to adjust the shape of the foot. Scroll to frame 20, then press A to select the circle and move it into a better position. Do the same thing on frame 1. To select just the leg, click once, then press L to select Linked. Right-click at the base of the foot, then press S. Move the mouse downward, then press the middle mouse to secure the vertical-only scale direction. Press G to grab and move it into place. This effectively has created a squashed shape. We don't want the foot to be squashed, so let's fix that now by pressing E and sculpting it. Hold down the Alt key and use the scroll wheel to advance the frames. Click anywhere on the circle, then press L to select Linked. Press G, then raise the circle up. Click the leg, then press L, then press G to raise it up. Right-click to place the mouse cursor at the top of the leg, then press R to rotate it as shown. Press A to deselect all points, then press C for Paint Select and scroll the scroll wheel to adjust the size. Right-click to place the mouse cursor, then press R to rotate the foot. Select the Smooth tool and smooth the shape of the ankle. Hold down the Alt key and use the scroll wheel to scroll through the frames. Replace frame 20 with frame 1 by selecting frame 1, pressing Shift D and then dragging the frame onto frame 20. Select all frames, then press G to drag it into place. We now have the extreme positions for our jump. In the frame view, pan the view by holding down the middle mouse button and dragging, then use the scroll wheel to zoom the view. Place the frame slider between any two frames, then, in the viewport, press Ctrl E and release and establish an in-between frame automatically. Note the foot size is not appropriate. Hold down the D and E keys, then select the Push tool and adjust the size of the foot. By zooming the view out, our brush size automatically becomes bigger. By zooming the view in, the brush becomes smaller. Hold down the Alt key and use the scroll wheel to move through the frames. Select the second keyframe, then press Shift D and drag it to this position. Press A to select all points, then press G to move it here. Right-click to place the cursor here, then press R to rotate the leg like this. Hold down the E key and use the Push tool to adjust the size and shape of the foot. Hold down Alt and the scroll wheel to scroll through the frames. Right-click to place the mouse cursor and press R to rotate the leg into a better position. Place the frame slider between the first two keyframes and then begin creating a new in-between. Press Ctrl E in the main view and then drag the mouse to get the position and shape of the new in-between. Press F to adjust the size of the brush and then use the push tool to shape the foot. Try and match the volume of the before and after frames. Let's also make the foot shape as though the toes were pointing upward. Hold down Alt and use the scroll wheel to scroll through all the frames. Move the frame slider between these two keyframes and then press Ctrl E to establish the position and shape of the new in-between. Press and hold E to sculpt the shape of the foot. Scroll through the frames to check your work. Notice the beautiful arced flow of the frames. Drag the end slider to determine the range of the animation. Then press play to play back your animation in real time. Both the timing and the shape of each drawing are looking good. We can now start adding our anticipation and follow-through actions. In between the two first keyframe positions, we need the character to bend down in anticipation of the jump. Press C and then paint select these points. Then right-click to place the cursor by the knee. Press the O key to turn on proportional editing, use the scroll wheel to adjust the size of the influence, and then press R to rotate the character this way. Press A to deselect all points, then press the C key to select these points. Right-click to place the cursor at the ankle, then press R to rotate the body forward. Press A to deselect all, then use the C key to select these points. Right-click at the knee and then rotate the body backward. Click to select the first frame, then press Shift-D to duplicate it and move it into this position. Press Alt-A to play your animation. I'm using a Mac, so I may have been saying Option when I meant to say Alt for those Windows users. So far, we've managed to establish the most important key positions. Press Alt-A to stop the animation, then deselect all frames, press B to select these two frames, press Shift-D to duplicate them and place them here. Align the time slider with the first one, press A, then press G to grab and drag it into place. Do the same thing with the second keyframe. Use the up and down arrows to cycle through the keyframes, forward and backward. Press Alt-A to play your animation in real time. You can also press Alt-A to stop the animation. Select the last key in the animation, press G to drag it to this position. Press Alt-A to play the animation again in real time. The flow and the timing of the animation are good, as well as the anticipation and reactions frames. Hold down the Alt key and use your scroll wheel to scroll through these last frames. To reshape the foot, press C and highlight these points. Then right-click and place the rotation here and press R to rotate the foot. Use the C key again to highlight the toe portion of the foot, place the cursor here, and then rotate the toes of the foot like this. Select the Smooth tool to smooth out any irregularities in the ankle. Use the up and down arrow keys to move through your animation one keyframe at a time. Adjust this key position by pressing A to select all points and then G to grab the shape and move it. Use the arrow keys to move back and forth through your animation to check the progress. Use the C key to select these points, position the right mouse cursor here, and then press R to rotate the toes. Let's try that again. Make sure you've selected the right points this time. This foot pose will produce a slap when the foot hits the ground, making the jump have more weight. Select the Push tool from the Pie menu again, press E, and then resculpt to exaggerate it just a little more. Use the up and down arrow keys to move through your animation one keyframe at a time. Press the play button to play back your animation in real time. Make note of the exaggerated foot slap. Hold down the Alt key and use your scroll wheel to scroll back and forth through the animation. Let's now use the Push tool to create the overlapping action of the body. We're not actually creating any new keyframes, just dealing with the existing ones to create the overlapping action. Make sure to maintain the volume of each keyframe. When you think you're satisfied, play back the animation to view the result in real time. The exaggeration looks good. Now we'll just need to make it smoother altogether. To do this, just position the time slider between two existing keyframes, move your mouse into the view, and then press Ctrl-Shift-E to fill in the gaps. I've actually changed this keyboard shortcut to Shift-E for ease of use. By using Alt-Scroll wheel to adjust the time slider, and then using Shift-E to set the in-between frames, you never have to leave the viewport. Press Alt-A to see the result of your work so far. I think it's looking pretty good. When in the frame view, press A to deselect all frames, then starting with the fifth frame, press B and select these frames, and then Shift D to duplicate them and place them here. Now, starting with the first frame of the new sequence, we'll grab and move each key position to produce the advancement of the jump cycle. Use the right arrow key to advance one frame at a time. Then just press A to select all points and G to grab and move the shape. Feel free to vary the position of the drawings to create an elongated jump or a higher jump. Just make sure that you move the character high enough and that you maintain all the arcs of the whole motion of the animation. Here I've corrected some of the errors that I've made. This process may seem a little tedious, but it does allow for flexibility in making a cycle that advances. Drag the end slider to set the range of the animation. Then press Alt-A to play back your animation in real time. I've noticed a little aberration with the placement of the foot at the end of the jump. Being the perfectionists that we are, let's correct this now. We've worked hard. Let's play back this animation in real time, being rewarded by this delightful little clip of animation.